on this book by Parker, a wonderful man, if you don't agree with it. It's entitled On the Brink of Everything, Grace, Gravity, Getting Old. We recommend. Every day I get closer to the brink of everything. We're all headed that way, of course, even when we're young, though most of us are too busy with important matters to ponder our mortality. But when a serious illness or accident strikes, or someone dear to us dies, or we go to a class reunion and wonder who all those old people are, it becomes harder to ignore the drop-off that lies just over the edge of our lives. We have no choice about death, but we do have choices about how we hold the inevitable. Choices made difficult by a culture that celebrates youth, disparages old age, and discourages us from facing into our mortality. The laws of nature that dictate the sunset dictate our demise, but how we travel the arc between our own sunrise and sundown is ours to choose. Will it be denial, defiance, or collaboration? So ends. This has been a really mild experience. Whether we attribute this weather to climate change, El Nino, or random movements of the jet stream, we really had it easy. A couple of weeks of real cold and no substantial snowfall. How many Februarys do you recall? Many. 50 plus days. But in another way, this winter has been brutal for us here in Beverly and Perry. Too many beloveds from our congregation died in a rather short time. I will name them once again to keep our memories fresh. Fran Sullivan, Jerry Donnelly, Claire Karcher, Eileen Cleese, Harriet Arnold, Mary Sparks, and Ada most recently. The end of life circumstance varied for each of these wonderful individuals. 4 of them had already disengaged from our church life because of their condition. 3 had struggles with cancer. Each death was a tragedy, especially for the person who knew them and loved them. We have held memorial celebrations for 5 of them, sanctuary, and 2 more services are planned for later this spring. Each service felt good and right. We gathered. We honored our lost friend, paid tribute to their lives and accomplishments, held their families close, and remembered their lives with both tears and laughter. Who do you tend to be memorial church? All of us are complex persons, and these 7 were no exception. Many of them I hadn't known until they were memorialized, and I feel sad that it was shared. By holding several memorials in a row, I became keenly aware of what I try to accomplish with this life. And without going into detail, my goals are sort of several. To acknowledge that death happens, that the person's life is complete, and that this is a natural and necessary part of everything. To accept feelings of grief and despair as appropriate responses. To state that what happens upon and after death is a mystery, at least to me. And to assure that life continues and is ongoing, that meaning and value will continue. I always decide to focus on those closest to the deceased. I involve the family as much as possible in services. I was worried at first about repetition and whether it was right to return one service to me. I'm sure that those of you who attended several of these noticed that I did choose to read. It seems right though, because it was always new family and friends and the words that I felt. We, the congregation, do count, and we too can grieve. We are also the hosts and the vessel which this ritual is. In our memorial services, we truly honor and celebrate the person who is gone. We do this by showing up, by remembering them, and recalling life's story. We vacillate between pain and joy as we process the reality that we miss these people. And we gradually build a sense of memory legacy. The bereaved bring their grief, and we try to honor it and convert some of it, the sense of beauty, into emotions they can cherish as they continue on in their lives. The most consistent message I deliver is that we should use this moment and the experience of loss from the completion of one life as a prompt to consider our own life, our own mortality. Experiencing the death of another brings a sense of immediacy, a clear reminder that we are all somewhere on our own path from the first death. Saint Benedict, in his monastic teaching, instructed his novitiates to keep death daily before one's eyes. At first, this might sound like a downer. And so, why dwell on death? Well, because the inevitability of death is what reminds us of the preciousness of every moment. Lifetime is a gift, one we can use to its fullest, or one we can squander. Existence is a gift, consciousness is a gift, and time is a gift. And these gifts are given to us only. We need to embrace our lives fully and be honest about who we are and what matters to us. There is wisdom in the maxim to live each day as if it's your last. This feels especially salient as we become older, as many of us are, and the end of our lifetime grows closer. Parker Palmer again wrote, I've long thought of old age as a time when all that's left is to tell the truth, trying to tell it. It's liberating to be at a point where I no longer need to posture or pretend, because I no longer feel the need for anything. Hopefully, some of us are finding that same abundance. While self-knowledge and self-acceptance are great at every age, I agree with Palmer that they come more easy. Whether it's due to a newfound wisdom I have, or just because now I have. Laura Scott Maxwell, psychologist. You need only claim the events of your life, make yourself yours. When you truly possess all you have been and done, you are fierce. Reality. Fierce. She was 85 when she wrote those words, proudly claiming power and owning and accepting herself as all she was and had been. Most of our lives are spent on a journey towards learning to know and accept ourselves, and the path becomes more urgent. We approach its ending. By now, we should be coming to terms, knowing ourselves and owning the fullness of our life. Consider this week first homework assignment. In most memorials, I lean in with some of our best and best voices, and almost always very often. Tell me, what is it I should have done? Doesn't everyone die at last and too soon? Tell me, what is it like one wild? These words always touch my heart, my soul. But turning to now, how do you consider it? Most persons I ask about respond in a way that's kind of soft, pragmatic. We know it will come. We understand that denial is futile, and we hope that our ending are in a good way. And you few of us worry about final judgments or eternal punishment. Yet, the same people, us, who are laid back about our own demise, often are consumed with and angst when asked to consider death for their partner or other close loved. We do fear losing someone else, having them take far more than we fear the prospect of having them lose. Maybe this is to better visualize ourselves being left behind, alone and on our own. But death, like any other part of it, merits thought. What are you? Are you worried about becoming a, about missing out on what happens here after you are gone? Are you curious to learn if something does follow it? What do you need in order to feel that you go with a sense that your life is worthy, that you have brought goodness here? All of these and many others are special. I'm aware that some of you came at that cafe recently, and I would love to hear about more discussions. And how often do you think of planning what will happen on your end? Preparing for your eventual demise and death can be one of the most important gifts you can give to survive. Parts of this, like arranging your material estate, fiscal assets, might be important, but I have no special insight. It does sound wise to get one's affairs in order. That's on you. What I can say is that it is crucial to have the talk with your loved ones who deal with you. And this time the talk isn't about having encounters. Talk isn't how babies are. The talk is about personal and the biggest question is how you view dying, your own dying, and whether it's most important to live as long as possible, or whether you prefer to avoid prolonged suffering. Facing the possibilities directly, sharing your thinking with those who matter. You will always be given full control over medical and residential decisions. You are autonomous until such time as you make those decisions. If you are unconscious, if you are suffering dementia or otherwise impaired, you are unable to see. In the unfortunate but not fully unlikely event that you become non-decisional, someone will have to assume the authority to become. By default, this is your spouse or legal partner. If they aren't available or don't exist, they are followed in order by your children, your parent, adult siblings, or an adult grandchild, and the list goes on. And it's determined and written But you also have the power to name your own agent by assigning someone help. And it's wise to find someone who understands your intention and whom you trust to act based on your wishes. Sometimes this might be a friend or acquaintance who is less burdened emotionally than your closest lover. End of life decisions can be shatteringly difficult. They include this: when to relocate to nursing, when to enter memory care, whether or not to begin a hospice program, whether to resuscitate or intubate or use CPR, or when to. If you wish to avoid extreme life support, you want someone who can consult with the medical staff and agree to allow nature to take its own, presumably. uh, uh, Sometimes distraught family members see this as killing random. We'll see any option. In chaplains, I observed more than a few cases of family implosion caused by visiting care children. Of course, you may name your spouse and closest kin to your agent, assuming they understand your wisdom. Either way, by addressing contingencies that arise and remove the burden those who will be involved in death. And it's so easy to do. This idea about talking about this came to me when I was at a conference on interfaith clergy panel. And a couple made the point that this is just really, and we were talking about sin situation. And I said, well, if it comes to, so we're going to talk about the sermon. So they thought, and here starts a public service. In Illinois, a basic DNR, not necessitated type document, is known as a POLST, POLST, practitioner order for life-sustaining treatment. And there is a POLST form. It doesn't make any sense. But the POLST form, and other things work too, living wills and things that you might have seen in other places. But in Illinois, the easiest way to use this form. This just creates orders for medical response in the case of life emergency. You're wheeled into the emergency room after an accident, and the default of the medical is to do anything. But you may select from a menu of options ranging from do nothing extraordinary to do everything possible. I have a few copies of this here, as well as apply for the power of healthcare. And I will include information in this contact. The Illinois Department of Health supported this. To assign a power of attorney for healthcare, there's an official form, very good and useful, supported instruction. On this, you name the person who you will assign as your power of attorney for your medical care. This person is your decisional agent when they are needed. Once invoked, which usually begins when a physician declares that you are no longer decisional, this person will have access to all of your medical, access to your doctors to discuss your case, and they have the power to give permission or to decline any treatment options suggested by the doctor. The forms are useful and very, and they are not forever documents. They update both the POLST or the power of attorney with only the most recently dated sweat. But even more than the form, what is truly important, no one can follow your wishes unless you know what they are and make them. You have the power to decide who is in power to make decisions when you cannot assure. And the best way to ensure they act is to explain your choices and feelings to them before they find themselves in the position of having to make a difference. I personally can I won't quite call it denial. I understand that it might come at any time. And I am 72, overweight, prone to hypertension, etc., etc. But I'm also healthy, and I have good medical care and no particular factors that I'm aware of. But I'm terrible at executing straight tasks. My family does know how I feel about medical decisions and how they should be. And I now, I will file these two documents next month. No, that's soon. That's not a joke.
Tomorrow.
Damn, I'll sit down and fill it out now. Anyhow, this is your second component too. Have the talk, most of them, and then file the forms with the public. They know what to do. They'll get it into the computer system. Everything's taken care of until you give them the next one. I'll add that. And here ends the public service. Our debt is important. It completes our lifetime and means that we will only in legacy and not in corporate form. Our consciousness, as far as I know, ceases. If we are fortunate, the death process can be fairly peaceful and positive. We are fortunate the scale of our being really does narrow as we approach our end. We become weaker, we disengage from much of it, and we sort of gradually start to fade away. Anyway, if we can be cared for by love and held in the fold of a loving family and friends, potentially a very positive turn. It is time. Many people say death is natural. We should embrace it. With hospice care and it's happening. Even death from causes that pain, such as cancer, can be handled well enough to approach the situation or ideal. I lost the reference. The one elderly Catholic nun, she approached it, commented on our great. All the stones show 2 dates, she said, separated by a hyphen. She pointed out that what we don't often enough realize is that the dates are not merely that's the hyphen, because the hyphen represents the lived life and dates. So my advice to all is make the best of your hyphen. And that's you. Ashe, amen. We will now